Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be joined today by Marilu Marshall and Robin Shum, our two incredible verse mentor pair that will be in our Spotlight interview series today. I'm Corinne McGrelly, Assistant Manager on the Global Reverse Mentor team, and off to you, Marilu.
Hi, Marilu Marshall, Global Chief Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Officer. I've been with the company for 27 years, probably longer than many of you have been alive.
And I'm Robin Shum. I'm a lead product manager on the solution design management team in global IT.
Awesome. So we are so excited to get right into it. And our first question is for you, Mary Lou. We would love to know, a lot more about your format of your meetings with Robin. How do you decide which topics you like to explore?
Well, I would say our meetings are relatively informal. We spend a lot of time getting to know one another. And by the way, Robin, I'm dying to hear about that fabulous vacation you just took, but we'll do that outside of the interview. Robin always comes prepared with a wonderful deck, and it always includes the latest in beauty trends, which I find absolutely fascinating. But we also talk about the ways in which her world and my world intersect.
Awesome. I love how, no matter what world you really sit in at ELC, this partnership really comes together and you guys can have this shared learning experience, which is what we love to hear. So our second question is for you, Robin. We would love to know more about how, like I just said, you sit in the technology and accessibility space while Mary Lou leads a team in a more business-facing strategic role. So how do you really take these distinct lenses to explore trends and bring inclusive cross-generational insights back to your work?
Yeah, I think maybe it's because I'm Gen Z, but I love how we're living in the most tech forward era. And technology is not just a tool for efficiency and productivity, but a cultural connector as well. For example, as Marilu mentioned, I like to present her with a beauty trend of the moment, and I stay up to date a lot with this through social media like TikTok. But it's also a place where I stay up to date on how influencers and also regular people shop and live. And particularly with the space of accessibility that I'm in, I've been able to see how blind and other disabled people live their lives, which has helped me build empathy in my line of work, where I specialize in tech product management and digital accessibility. And since accessibility is a priority for ID&E, that's really where Marilu's world and my world intersects. And also, in the conversations I've had with Marilu, she has made me more aware of what behaviors and expectations are uniquely Gen Z and which are shared across generations. We've discussed things like work expectations, vulnerability in leadership, and what belonging means. And I've started to use these conversations as a lens when I work across my teams, both in product and also cross functionally.
Awesome. You sound like the Gen Z superstar, Robin. And as the Gen Z superstar, Mary Lou, the next question is for you. We would love to know more about how Robin has really helped expand your understanding of, technology and digital accessibility, and, how has that influenced the way you think about leadership and building an inclusive environment for future generations?
Well, Robin had a tough job with me because I'm a bit of a technological dinosaur, certainly compared to her. But Robin has really expanded my perspective on the intersection that we've both mentioned, the intersection between technology, digital accessibility, and inclusion. Throughout our conversations, she has educated me with regard to emerging tools and innovations. And we talk about the real barriers that people face with regard to accessibility. I have some personal experience with barriers because my husband used a wheelchair for many years. And so I'm well aware of the physical barriers, but it's been fascinating to talk about the technological barriers and the fact that we don't often think of technology as being particularly compassionate or empathetic. We think of it as being more of a scientific field, but there's really an art to what Robin does. And one example of that is the application that she was a part of creating, which is called the Voice Makeup Assistant, or VMA. This, if some of you are not familiar with it, you should be, because it's a wonderful tool for all of us, not just the visually impaired, but it's an application that uses uh, voice to guide people, voice technology to guide users through the application of makeup. And Robin has helped me understand how the technology works and how these features are helpful not only to people with visuals, but to all of us. And many technological insights have been like this. We use an example often of the curb cuts. that were originally designed for people using wheelchairs or walkers, but they're also helpful to people pushing strollers or pulling suitcases, wheeled suitcases behind them. So we have also discussed the fact that technology and accessibility can be both an enabler and an equalizer when designed with all users in mind. And we also talk about designing with and not just for. So that's helped me to influence myself in the leadership role by asking questions such as not so much how will this work, but who will be left out or who might this leave out by virtue of this design. It's inspired me to advocate for inclusive design and to ensure that innovations like VMA are considered not just nice to haves, but easy, essential elements that can empower our consumers and bring more consumers to our counter. I guess, for me, building an inclusive environment for future generations means ensuring that innovation is accessible to all, inclusion for all. And Robin's insights have made that both a leadership priority for me and a personal commitment.
Awesome. That is so well said. And I think with this rapid industry that we're in, tools such as VMA and a few of the others that you mentioned, Marilu, are such powerful tools to kind of take us that step further in the inclusion and diversity space, which is amazing to hear. Our next question is for you, Robin. In what ways has this experience, which has sounded so amazing with Marilu, deepened your understanding of leadership or broadened your view as a whole of the company?
Well, I think that amazing is not enough words to describe the partnership that I have with Marilu, and our conversations have been really enriching in so many ways. For one, talking about universal design, I had the opportunity to present to Marilu's team and speak about it from the technology perspective, but it was also really interesting to hear about it from the people perspective, since ID&E is a very people-focused function, and it's really evident in the way that Marilu leads. Watching her approach her leadership through empathy, storytelling, and cultural fluency gave me a blueprint for how I can hope to lead, not just with strategy, but also with heart. And in our sessions, we explored how inclusive design specifically intersects with how brands are perceived, from lipstick packaging legibility to retail design for mobility from a physical sense. And those conversations have helped me understand that inclusion isn't just a value that we have, but it also gives our company a competitive edge. And leadership plays a key role in enabling that. So thank you, Marilu, for your constant sponsorship and advocacy. And lastly, partnering with Marilu has helped me understand leadership on a global level. One of the things that really stuck with me throughout all of our conversations is how Marilu leads people across the world, across countries, regions, and cultural contexts. And I got a small taste of this when I visited our offices across Asia and Europe. But for Marilu to do this daily and to build an entire career grounded in that level of global cultural awareness is incredibly impressive. It requires such a deep understanding of customs and communication norms, and I hope to do this one day too.
Sounds wonderful and so powerful at the same time. So, with all of these amazing anecdotes and stories, question 5, and we'd love to wrap up with some words of inspiration from you, Mary Lou. And if you have any advice or you would like to give yourself or to our reverse mentor community at ELC, any words of advice.
Well, thank you, Karen, and thank you, Robin, for your kind words. I have lots of advice and I'm always willing to give it. But I think for this particular community, I would start by saying, um, stay courageous, be courageous. Don't be afraid to take risks with your career. I took a lot with my career, and some of them could have backfired, but they didn't. And so I encourage people to think outside the box. And by the way, the first job you have will never be the last job you have. You will move throughout your career. So if you're not happy doing what you're doing, figure out what does make you happy and go do it. Because one thing I always say is if you love what you do and you do what you love, then you're never going to feel like you're working. It'll be a joy. So that's one thing I always advise. The other thing is to say, be curious, be open to learning, ask questions, and don't be afraid to probe. Also, don't be afraid to express your perspective, even if you're talking to more senior people. And I'll share a little anecdote. Many years ago, early in my career, I was working as an attorney then, and my boss and I were discussing an issue that had arisen, and I was expressing my point of view on that issue, and I also expressed a solution. He thought about that for a while, and then he said to me, "That idea is so good, it's now mine." He took my idea and ran with it, and of course, took credit for it, which kind of annoyed me at the time, but it paid off. I got a promotion eventually, and it made me realize that I should not be afraid to speak up as a junior member of the team because my point of view might be helpful to someone more senior, and they might actually use it. And I can use reverse mentor program as an example of that. The idea, the generation of the idea came from someone in the Gen X DRG at the time, a millennial. And that idea became so good, we took it farther. So I think another thing to remember is that reverse mentoring isn't just about transfer of knowledge. It's about building bridges and building an understanding between generations. I'm a baby boomer, and Robin and I often talk about the differences in how we perceive certain things or how we do certain things. The reverse mentor program really started out with the reverse mentor teaching the mentee, or expressing to the mentee, I should say, not teaching, how they like to shop, where they shopped, how they shopped, when they shopped, and what they shopped for. It was all about the shopping experience. And I still marvel at people who are totally digital shoppers because I still have to go out and look at that lipstick shade and rub it on my hand, and touch it and feel it and all that. So there are things that we learn from one another. And I think as the leaders of the future, which you all are, you need to be strong, you need to be compassionate. Compassion happens to be the middle name of our ID&E team because we do feel that expressing compassion and empathy for all, inclusion for all, is very important in today's world. And digital accessibility will help us to get there. So I commend you all for what you're doing. I think this is a fabulous program. I've been an advocate of it from the beginning, and I've had about 7 or 8 reverse mentors now, and I can honestly say I've learned something from all of them.
I love that. And, something that you've mentioned, and which is sort of a motto for us in the program, is having a seat at the table no matter where you sit in the company. And I think that really speaks loud as what you just mentioned is being courageous in a junior role or no matter where you sit at the company and just taking risks no matter what, which is so powerful. And especially in today's day of age, I think that, we're all in our own roles and we forget that this is an amazing network and this program really gives you that bridge, like you said, to kind of connect. And hearing your partnership and all of the different topics that you guys discover together and share and having compassion at the same time and people being at the heart of everything is really inspiring for me. And I know it'll speak loudly to the community watching this. So I couldn't thank you both enough, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us. Robin,
Thank
good to
you,
see you.
Corinne. It's
We'll
good to
talk
see you,
about that
Marilu.
vacation soon.
Yes, we will. It's great to see you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.